Happy Thursday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thursday.
Yeah.
We're back.
And me, I'm back, man. I feel like I've
Yeah.
kind of abandoned you for the last couple weeks, and we're not done yet. I'm going to abandon you for a couple more weeks. So coming up in December.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah, so we had no episode last week. Nicky was at Kubecon, and I was dying from whatever I picked up at VMware Explorer Barcelona. But we're going to attempt to have a show again this week, and I'll do my best not to cough up a lung on mic. So if I don't catch myself on mute, I apologize. But I think I'm doing better today.
So
but yeah,
do a show today,
yeah.
but we don't have a show next week. We're going to take the week off for Thanksgiving. So, we won't have anything. We don't want to interrupt anybody's Thanksgiving dinner. So we won't be off then. And then I will actually be out the week after that on some personal time off. So once again, you're going to be doing a show by yourself, Nick. At some point, you're going to have to beat me up.
No, I think I'd lose, but we don't want to get in a fight. But yeah, we'll figure out. I think the week after Thanksgiving, obviously, we're taking Thanksgiving week off. We'll have some good news to share, and we'll figure. We'll have a show for sure, or I will lead a show. But yeah, then we'll then kind of dovetail into some of the holiday. We'll have to do like a holiday themed show. I want to do a home lab show too before the end of the year.
Yep.
Just because I keep expanding mine. But yeah. So yeah, that's sorry for the lack of episode last week, but if you haven't caught our show from VMware Explorer Barcelona, that's out there too, and we'll try to get updated on the podcast versions as well. But
I was able to jump on the Barcelona show, at least in chat, but wasn't able to get on call. Man, I was really, really disappointed that I didn't get a chance to talk with Keith, you lucky devil. Would have loved to have been able to have some time with Keith and Cote. But it was a good show.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to stay on the whole thing. And then I was hoping next week I would be able to do, Cloud Foundry at Disney World, but I'm going to actually be on an airplane when the show starts. So
that would be pretty cool. I mean, maybe we could, if you want, we could arrange a special time. I don't know, but yeah, no, you don't want to mess with that. Oh, hello! Shout out to Deshaun in chat. Yeah, Deshaun. If you wanna, be a co-star when Nicky's out, I think we can arrange that. So
I don't know, man. Deshaun. Every time he's on a show, everything's so low key. There's nothing exciting that ever happens. We want to bring Deshaun on? I mean, we should probably find somebody with higher energy than what Deshaun has.
I don't think that's possible.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Nope. I agree with you. Well, this show is going to be extremely different than what we usually do. So, I think we should prepare everybody. Cloud Foundry Weekly is going to go Kubernetes for a day, talk about what we saw at KubeCon. Going to be a very, very different show, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I didn't make it to KubeCon this year, but you were there and you were working at the Cloud Foundry Foundation booth as well. Yep. So obviously, I've been to the last KubeCon I was at Detroit, and they the CFF has been having a pretty standard booth presence at KubeCon for the past KubeCons for quite some time now. So I'd like to hear what the vibe was there. Did you have any interesting conversations?
We did. We had quite a few people come by. I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers, but over 400 people, came by the booth. Now, as with all conventions, some of the people that came by were the swag goblins, right? Coming by for the swag like they do. But we did have some very interesting conversations, did a couple of demos for a couple of companies, brought up a demo foundation that we walk people through what it looks like, how you deploy applications. There's still interest out there. People are still, there were some good questions about how we could kind of, how could Cloud Foundry be utilized with Kubernetes as well? One of the overarching themes, which we've talked about, Nick, is with Cloud Foundry kind of being that closed system and especially on the commercial side, the tiles that we bring in, what are the possibilities to interact with some of these projects that are coming out? And there were a lot of projects. If you walk the floor, there were probably 230 different vendors there that were, displaying what they're doing with Kubernetes. And some of those are extremely interesting. We'll probably talk about some of them later, but a lot of people were asking, hey, we like the simplicity and the joy of being able to deploy our apps with just CF push, but we do want to use some of these projects. How can we do that? And I think that should kind of be a focus, something that needs to be looked at a little bit harder. I know on the commercial side, that's what we're really one of the things that we're trying to accomplish. But that was probably the bulk of the conversations, or then just other people, asking, hey, we're here. What is Cloud Foundry? And getting to kind of educate them on that for people that don't know about it.
Yeah, because there's probably been a lot of new folks who joined the CNCF or the Kubernetes landscape, post the creation of Kubernetes and Cloud Foundry and all that jazz. So they missed the time before Docker and things like that. So that kind of predates their professional career, perhaps. So yeah, that's pretty interesting take. Did you get any? Did anybody see their first CF push?
They did.
Kind of mind blown. Yeah.
Quite a few people got to see their first CF push, right? We did several demos of, hey, here's what CF push looks like, using some of the Spring apps, service binding, well, Deshaun just called it out, service bindings, right? That was something that really entertained people. We talked about some different scenarios going back to, potentials for, Cloud Foundry on the edge, potential for, Cloud Foundry being a data platform. I mean, it was a good list of questions that came from, people that stopped by. And then some, like I said, some of them were just what's the difference between Cloud Foundry and Kubernetes. So we got to talk about the Karifi project. A lot of people really interested on the Pacato build packs coming in from the CFF and, those types of projects. So overall, wide ranging questions from what is this to how can I use this better, right?
Yeah. That's pretty cool to see. Even seeing, it's nice to show a CF push to somebody for the first time still. So
yep.
I'm a little bit jealous.
Light up like Christmas morning. Yep.
Like, what do you mean? I didn't have to write 1,000 lines of YAML to get this app push? That's awesome.
And I got to use Deshaun's line quite a bit, right? Friends don't let friends write Docker files. So got to use that quite a bit in the people that we talked with. And, some people didn't believe me, so we had to show it, right? Proof is in the pudding.
Very cool.
Here's CF push.
Awesome. Yep. Let's see. What else? I have a feeling that AI was probably talked about there.
So,
what was the scene there?
I think that was the overarching kind of theme of KubeCon this last week was AI. So, AI's got an evolving role. There was a lot of talks coming out, how can you use, Kubernetes better, and really kind of talking about how we're seeing the industry kind of shift, right? So they're repurposing their budgets, a lot of budgets in 2025. I think it was I want to say, I can't remember the number off the top of my head that came from the speech, but, a lot of infrastructure teams and customers are going to shift their budgets to AI projects, right? Instead of infrastructure projects. So, really the theme of the KubeCon this year was, how do we shift the focus from AI hype to real deployment challenges? What are some of the demands that we're seeing from Kubernetes on a scalability and stability scale to meet the AI challenges, right? So, databases are leading the Kubernetes workloads today. And, there's a rising demand for the large language model storage needs and how they're going to do the movement and focus, observability that are related to that. So most of it was really focused on AI. And I thought that was a big telling sign that AI being such a big focus on the Kubernetes. aspect of that.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned data. What was the vibe there of like? And I've started to see some of this just in general, but like, are we finally getting past the point of like databases and like persistent data within containers, Kubernetes clusters? Is that okay, or is there still like this kind of perceived debate whether maybe that's not the greatest idea, or is the industry past that point, or are we still, or is that still a debate? I guess did that come up at all?
Well, it did, and one thing I'm gonna go ahead and state is, I spent a lot of time. I was working 4 to 6 hours at the booth every week, so I didn't get to go and see a lot of the talks that were out there to really get a good a good view of where people's heads are at coming to this. But with database being such a huge part of what we're looking at with large language models, that was a focus. There was a lot of talk about hybrid deployment strategies to kind of meet that. How do we get the most efficient resource utilization out? And you know this topic better than I do, but what we're seeing is the demand for data is going to go up as AI grows. I mean, each one of these models are starting to ingest such large amounts of data. How are they going to be able to scale that? How are they going to be able to keep it efficient? And what's the best way to build your applications? In order to take care of that. And yes, there's still that question of, do we want to do do you want to do data close? Do you want to, have data stored? How much do you co-locate with your applications? But this is really kind of your focus. I wish you could have been there since it was so AI heavy this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some of the, like, I saw some links and some of the kind of tweets and things from some of the events. So I didn't see a whole lot, but kind of got some of the vibe. But yeah, I think it's just like AI is generally kind of being involved everywhere now, and obviously even at Explorer, like AI is a big theme. So yeah, and then with that data pipelines, things like that all kind of come into play. So it'd be really interesting here too. Maybe with a week or two, what some of the news that we can talk about. I mean, I guess we officially announced that we're going to be launching Tanzu Platform 10, but like we have some interesting stories with Gen AI and Tanzu Platform, and some of our data services as well there as well. So.
And I think, going back to something that we've talked about on this show, right? It was also kind of a topic at Kubecon about, again, moving from the focus from AI hype, everything's got to have AI, to real deployment and utilization challenges, right? So, there were quite a few comments about, hey, if, use AI responsibly, use AI where it's appropriate. Don't just put AI in there just to use AI. I want to say that there was a talk, and I can't remember the name of it, about, if you try to use AI just to say that you're checking a box, your customers are going to notice that, right? So let's start looking at real use cases for AI and how we can make that better. And then, really laying out what are the challenges around that so that we can get out to some of these projects and maintainers and focus on those challenges to make this a little bit more accessible for everybody. And, talking about Tanzu Platform, that's one of our focuses, is how can we make AI more accessible to developers. We had the show with Adib where he went through, and we're going to have some more shows with Adib where we're talking about utilizing both Tanzu Platform and Spring AI that really makes that easier for developers to get in there, start iterating, start looking at their applications and how they can use AI in a way that makes sense. Did I lose you, Nick? All right. I will say, one of the other things, let's open with one of the things that KubeCon came out with heavy. So, CNCF came out very heavy with this fight against patent trolls, which, they kind of declared war against patent trolls. So if you don't know what patent trolls are, these are guys, they're as the CNCF said it, they're bullies. They go out and they file these frivolous patent lawsuits against projects, just trying to get money, because generally, customers think, or maintainers think, it's easier just to settle than it is to fight them. But, the CNCF is coming out with what they're calling the Cloud Native Heroes Challenge, to go out and try to find some of these patent trolls. They're banding together. Companies are banding together to go in and fight these guys. And I thought that was very interesting, right? They declared war on the patent trolls. They were very upfront and honest about it, wanting to protect everything in the patents that are coming out. So they announced this strategic partnership with Unified Patents, and there's a bounty system, right? If you go out and look at that Cloud Native Heroes Challenge, there's a bounty out there for identifying these frivolous claims, and it's community driven. So I'm glad to see that too. I mean, whether it be the Cloud Foundry community or it be the Kubernetes community, everything that we're doing around open source is community driven. Spring's the same way. We got to defend each other. We got to keep the IP out there, and keep it ours, and kind of take these guys that contribute nothing and make sure they get knocked down a peg.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't seen that. That's really interesting. So it's like the open source initiative to help protect open source against patent trolls. Interesting.
Absolutely. Yep.
Very cool. So, and when you asked me a question before, I was attempting to load one of the podcasts I listened to without playing it on my screen, and then broadcasting it on this podcast. So sorry about that. But you mentioned like taking AI or like more seriously, or like actually deriving value from AI. And there's this podcast called the AI Daily Brief. It's just like great, like general, kind of general news podcast of just like daily episodes from just like the news and AI, so to speak.
Right.
And I think yesterday's episode, which the one I listened to this morning, was just entitled "Study Finds 370% ROI for Enterprise Generative AI." So I think that report came out from IDC, but like the fact that now obviously all these studies could be taken with a grain of salt or whatever, but the fact that we're starting to measure like actual gains and ROI around some of these projects, I think is starting to speak volumes as well. So I think we obviously at Tanzu can help a lot in that whole story, but I think even some of the analyst firms and things are starting to confirm probably all this investment in some of this AI technology is starting to pay out, and probably the leaders or the forerunners are probably going to get hopefully kind of leading edge value as well.
Yep. Well, I mean, you talk about using it. Deshaun brings up the comment about how does Coca-Cola feel about their AI generated holiday commercial, right? Lots of bad feedback on that. It goes back. I haven't
seen it.
I haven't either.
Have you seen it?
I don't know. I don't know what the bad feedback is. Maybe Deshaun can throw it in the comments. But if that's the case, I mean, that goes back to what we say, AI has a place. Make sure that you're using AI responsibly. Because, I mean, we had Chris Phillipson on talking about Sanford. I think we're probably going to have him back on because we made a comment to him about using his CF Butler tool suite and how he could use AI to answer platform engineering questions using AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got a working demo of that. So, always good to see Chris, and, the fact that he took that conversation and turned it into something real, I think is pretty exciting. But we also see just AI thrown out there just to say, again, check that box and say we've got AI. Oh, hold on just a second, Nick. I'm going to have to go off stage for just 5 seconds.
Okay. Oh, well, Nicky is off stage here. Deshaun, we'll have to definitely deep dive into this Coca-Cola commercial, because I haven't seen that yet. I'm kind of wondering if it's the I think there's maybe a Google commercial too that they use AI for, or something about AI, and there's also another some poor feedback or bad feedback as well. So
sorry about that, folks.
About the Olympics.
We got some construction going on here in the underground bunker that I call my studio, and just need to take care of something real quick, but. I also, just off topic, Nick, we were talking about this in pre-show. Man, look at the glare on our foreheads. That's the downside to being bald guys on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the glare factor really, I could, let's just do this. We'll see. We'll do a live test. Let me turn off all my lights. Well, and then on the side note too, when I do record things like in Camtasia and I do the green screen effect, I have to I have to tweak the green screen effect to like dial back the glare from my head, because then like you'll be green and it'll start to. start to try to green screen my head, and it's a problem. Oh, now I'm really dark. Less glare, right? And now
there
I'm
you
losing
go.
focus and things.
After it came back in, but man, if we could kind of focus that glare onto a single point, I think we would have better than lasers. All right, so
yeah,
there's the big washout.
Full glare. Yeah.
Again, the beauty of doing things on a live show, you never know where we're going to go.
Yeah.
All right, so what else about about KubeCon Cloud Foundry?
Well, we got to wrap up the Coca-Cola commercial thread here. Sorry. It's all AI generated responses. It lacks soul. So yeah, I think, and I guess generally on a thread of like, I think that's where some of some of these completely AI generated things, like of like media and things, like I think people will always just want like some human connection to it. But then like writing applications to like, do very menial tasks and, like help automate all this like back end type of stuff. Like no one's really going to push back on that type of thing. So this is just like general thoughts of like, and I've even seen it too, like the artists or like the artist people, like the, humans want to like do the fun creation and things, but then they don't, I think that's what a lot of people were kind of surprised by with some of this generative AI, Gen AI stuff, let's say, is that they weren't expecting like it to start it to be so good at like generating art potentially or video or things of that nature versus like we kind of expected maybe the menial task type stuff to be fixed first, so to speak. I don't know. That's just my kind of side take on that.
Well, I mean, and I'd love to get the audience's reaction on this. I've noticed when we start looking at things like LinkedIn and the posts that are coming in there, I mean, generated AI pictures are becoming almost a fad. You see them on, 3/4 of the posts that you see out there. And, some people adopt, they embrace that. That the Gen AI picture is going to be kind of over the top. It's going to be, generally pretty cartoonish. But, when you're putting stuff out there, one things that Gen AI pictures do is they always misspell words, right? Biggest giveaway is how the words are always wrong. Calm down, right? I think what Deshaun brought up is it does lack soul. It lacks, that human connection, like you said. And yeah, there are great use cases for Gen AI. I use AI today to help me automate some of my tasks. I'll be open with it, right? It's a great way to summarize, websites. It's a great way to, help with your investigation and your research when you're doing, this podcast and others. But when you start relying on it too much, people are going to notice and you're going to lose that connection with people. And that's really what most of this is about is, that personal connection. So I think you got to be careful with it. You got to recognize where it has its benefits and where it has its limitations and be able to work around those.
And then I'll call it Deshaun's one of the comment string. So I guess I have seen that a lot too. Like Oren has done it. I've seen a couple of folks from the within Cloud Foundry Day presentations where they've used like Chat GPT or something to create like an image for each slide, and that's actually a really awesome format type of thing for a slide deck. So yeah, that's another pro tip out there. It could be a very interesting. You can make a very interesting slide deck and conversation points with, feeding, getting like per slide generated images based on the topic. But
right. Well, I mean, I'm interested. You're the AI guy here. You're the one that knows more about it, and it's because of you I've started using AI more. I do love it. It is a huge, it offers a lot of abilities for people to, generate ideas, in my opinion. I don't use AI to come up with, output, but I do use AI to help me generate an idea for what I want to do, right? And what I'm seeing is that it is beneficial, but man, some of these prompts are longer than the output I get out, right? And to ensure that what I'm wanting to try to focus on is recognized by the models that I'm using. So, a lot of people are worried. They're saying, "Oh, AI is going to take our jobs." Well, no, I don't think that's true. I mean, we've got automated factories today. They said the same thing. People are going to have to still learn how to do AI. They're going to have to learn how to get the most out of it. So I'm not one of those that thinks it's going to take away our jobs. It's just, it may change the direction of our jobs. It may change some of the focus of our jobs, but overall, I am seeing this as a benefit to both my work and others.
Yeah, I would agree. And then give a shout out to Mark here. Hey, Mark, thanks for watching
Yep.
again. We'll have to have you back on soon as well.
And Mark brings up a great point here. I'm going to go in and talk about. I had a long conversation with Claude the other day, going through some coding things and the ability to actually go through the code that I had written and help find my mistakes and make it more efficient. First time I've ever hit my limit on a model, right? But it was like very much like having a code mentor sitting with me, helping me go through troubleshooting steps. One of those things where I think people should lean into it. And then you look at stuff like, the ability to we've got the world of data at our hand, at our fingertips, using AI to help condense that down into something that, is actually manageable, something that's readable by us. We can't consume the data that AI does. So how do we take all this data that's available on the web? How do we condense it down and make it something that's useful to us? Yeah, same thing. Deshaun, absolutely. I did it for code. Deshaun used it for a CF manifest. So I think we can all say, to Nick's joy that AI is AI is the thing that's, it is the next big thing, and it's going to be interesting to see how companies use it.
Yeah, it's really great when you combine it with Cloud Foundry. That's
right.
So good. Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, again, more news coming 2 weeks from now. Let's see here. Okay, so we kind of went off an AI tangent, which I guess kind of describes the entire IT industry right now. But
right.
Do you have any more kind of tidbits or food for thought around the KubeCon experience? How was Utah? I don't think I've ever been to a conference in Utah. How was the conference? Rooming, food vibe. Like, what was the vibe in Utah with the conference?
It was exciting. I will say huge shout out to Salt Lake City. It is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. So you're sitting in this bowl, you're surrounded by mountains. We got there, I got there on Monday night. Tuesday afternoon, we had some snowfall, so all the mountains around us got covered with snow. Very clean town, very quiet town. It was awesome. The downside is the conference itself had, I think, over 9,000 attendees. So, my hotel was 15, 16 miles out from the conference center. But once you got into town, very easy walking. It was great to see so many people getting excited. I will say there was almost too much stuff to look at, even for a week, with all the talks and all the vendor booths. Information overload. You could see it starting to take root in people, around Thursday. There was just too much to look at. You kind of forgot what you looked at and what you heard the day before, because there was so much information getting thrown at you.
Nice. How was did you have any fun meals? Good meals to talk about? Anything to write home? I mean, I could probably talk about days from Barcelona, but what was your take on food
we did have good meals. We had some customer meals. We had some, we went out with, there was a night, went out with some old coworkers, a night that we went out with, some of the companies. So shout out to Any9s, got to spend some time with them while we were there. Shout out to 520. We got to spend some time with them while they were there. And then just beating all the attendees, right? So like I said, we talked to over 600 people at the Cloud Foundry booth. Got to spend some time with a lot of them, after hours, talking about what they come up with. Overall, man, it was a great experience. And I also went to Detroit. I'll give the Cloud Native Foundation, a shout out too. Every time we go to one of these conferences, it seems to double in size. But it's almost too much stuff to look at because there's so much information there.
Well, I will pose Deshaun's question to you as well.
What is your favorite learning that I took away from KubeCon? Well, I'll say there's two things. The first was the announcement that OpenSSF, the Guac project, is opened up, right? So Guac, man, you're gonna ask me what Guac means.
I'm thinking guacamole, some tortilla chips, and think now.
Yeah, hold on a second. I know what this means. I got it written down. Hold on just a second.
It's open.
So the graph for understanding artifact composition. So what Guac is Guac has been opened by the OSSF. OpenSSF, sorry. And it's basically making SBOMs usable, right? So this is something I know we've also talked about on this show as well. One of my complaints about SBOMs is, hey, SBOMs are great. They're out there. They give you a lot of information, but what are you going to do with it? So what Guac's looking to do is it's looking to really take those SBOMs and turn them into usable information. It's going to integrate vulnerability data across multiple sources. It's going to be able to graph out what the dependencies are on your application. So this is a project that got opened up. It's going to collect data from multiple sources. You got Docker Hub, GitHub, and it's going to give you a graphical outlay of what your project looks like and what the dependencies are. So trying to take those SBOMs to the next level. If you're not doing something with SBOMs, then it's just a check in the box and you just got a piece of paper that tells you something. But if you're not actually using it, then, SBOMs aren't going to do you a lot of good. So from a security front, that was probably one of the things that most caught my attention. The other one I would say, Solo IO took their Glue gateway. They've turned that, they've donated that to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation as an open source project. So you're seeing K8's Gateway. And K8's Gateway, they're looking at this in a couple different ways. First is they're trying to solve that problem of, we've got north-south ingress, but they're trying to bring in east-west ingress into it. So, built on Envoy and Istio, but they're bringing in east-west. They are going to do something that they're called ambient mesh to bring service mesh into that east-west traffic. And then they also got their AI gateway enhancement, right? So the AI gateway itself is just trying to put some guardrails around, AI, the excuse me, the controlled access for LLMs within the enterprises, and just kind of combining their vision and what it's going to take to help secure AI.
Nice. Yeah. So
those were some of the big takeaways that I took. And, there's a couple other projects that if we want to talk about, we can later. But to me, Deshaun, those were probably two of the things that I took away. If you go back and take a look, I think that they've put the shows and stuff out on YouTube now. I'll find the link and put it in the show notes. But they were both part of, some of the keynote speeches, and, definitely interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah. And the, what is it? So I posted the link for the guac from the OpenSSF. OpenSSF, and I think Rom is also working with that project as well, in addition to the CFF. So,
yep,
that's pretty cool to see that. And I guess is that separate to the CNCF then, or is this like another? I wonder how this is working out. It's like it's their own foundation about just security related stuff, which is cool.
Yeah,
open source
it was
security
the announcement.
foundation.
Yeah, it's the open source security foundation. So, they accepted that project. I think, when they were talking about it, it's got roughly 50 contributors, 300 members to the project, right? So, this is something that I think is needed. SBOMs are hugely valuable information, but if you're not really applying them and making sure that you're utilizing those to keep your project secure, SBOMs are they're just paperweight, right? So I'm glad to see that we're starting to see something that's recognizing how this can be in and trying to bring in this vulnerability data. To Deshaun, we've talked about, things like Spring App Advisor. This seems like Spring App Advisor for projects, to be able to recognize, see, and visualize what your vulnerabilities are, where your projects are out of date. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. And talking with Rom, me and Rom talked about this at the booth. He actually gave me, kind of a short demo of what he's doing. There's some work to do there, but it's got promise. At least in my eyes, it's got promise. I'm excited to see this come out. So, awesome. And I think they just released the beta version of this. So, it's coming with, both CLI access, Graph API, REST API access. So, yeah, I encourage people to go out and take a look at it, especially if you're playing in this space. It's something that would probably be very beneficial to you.
Well, I think this is something that would bridge both communities as well, right? Because we're talking about seeing SBOMs coming out of the Cloud Foundry V2 build packs here soon. Yep. You should obviously SBOMs within the Kubernetes landscape. So I think anything that we can do to just help the security story in terms of just enterprise software, or really just all software, is a good thing. So I think this could be another Into the DMZ mini series topic as well.
Yep, I agree.
We get cool.
And talking about build packs, there was a lot of interest in Picado, right? A lot of interest in build packs. Being able to be at the Cloud Foundry booth and talk about how we kind of Cloud Foundries have always been kind of the secret sauce of Cloud Foundry, and how that's getting extended into be a little bit more modular, being able to layer those build packs on top of each other. So I think that's going to be another good show that we should consider, is just coming in and talking all about Picado. Because those are, we're bringing those into Cloud Foundry, we're bringing them in the commercial side as well. It's going to be, for those that need to play in Kubernetes, it's going to be a benefit to them. So we should consider just doing an episode just on Picado and talking about that, because there was a lot of interest in build packs, especially from the Kubernetes side.
Yeah, we could deep dive into like the history and like what's the difference between V2 and V3? How does that work?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea. For sure.
Maybe after the first of the year, when I can be on the show and not leaving you alone all by yourself all the time.
Yeah. Well, we got Deshaun out here. He's already promised to help fill in, but yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get you back on for at least another episode or two before we go on holiday break. But I guess we'll see. I guess the end of the year is coming fast, so it always kind of sneaks up, I think, on everybody. But
yep.
Yeah. Any other takeaways that or any other kind of things we want to discuss for today's show?
Well, I guess, for those that are interested, I mean, we can talk about, there were a couple of projects that graduated. There were some award winners, and we should probably talk about that a little bit. So we'll just go through the updates, some of the project updates and the graduations of projects. So Cert Manager was a major graduation. Dapper, Kubevert, and I'm going to get some of these names wrong, and Jaeger 2, right? So these were some major announcements for graduations of those projects. And then, more importantly, they went through, awards for people that have contributed to, the CNCF and the Kubernetes landscape. They announced a new award, the Lifetime Achievement Award that they went, and, nobody was surprised, but Tim Hawken, he won that award, for him kind of starting all of this. The top committer was a guy by the name of Joe Stringer, if you guys know him. So groundbreaking work that he's doing on Cilium and eBPF. Sorry, man, my speech ain't working for me today. Kai Ming Ting and Haifeng Yao for what they're calling the Lorem Ipsum Award, right? So for helping with the documentation and making it accessible to everybody. And Nancy Chauhan for the TAG Award, right? So, for what she did with women in cloud native and leading some of the sustainability initiatives that they're doing. And then last, they had some recognitions there for what they're calling the lift and shift. So there were 16 people recognized for what was basically a 6-year migration of Kubernetes infrastructure. And the Chopwood Carry Water Award. Sorry, I had to look at that one. 6 individuals got honored for that and what they're kind of doing behind the scenes. Some of the work that happens with the CNCF that people that's not real visible, but they honored those guys for a lot of the work that they're doing in community building. So important awards, you can see those on the replays as well. It's always good. I don't care. I'm a Cloud Foundry guy, but we've got big communities, and it's always good to see the people that are contributing to those communities get honored for what they're doing.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's just trying to keep up with everything that's going on there. It's definitely a lot to take in. So,
yeah,
I appreciate you sharing your insights as well. I appreciate that. Did you get any time to kind of swing by the Tanzu booth as well? I know some of our other colleagues were there running I think we had a booth within the VMware by Broadcom booth as well, or I think we were sharing some space there with them. So.
Yep. Yep, I not a lot of time. I was actually pretty busy at the CFF booth, right? But did get to go by a couple times. Seemed like that we were getting good traffic. A lot of talk about VCF, a lot of talk about VKS. What used to be known as TKG and how that implements. I know Adib was pretty busy talking about Spring and what Spring can do there, but didn't get to spend a lot of time at the VMware booth.
Gotcha. No, it's a busy. It's a lot of work running the booth and managing, getting all the people to keep the shifts going. So I think that's definitely before working within the tech marketing space, I don't think I ever realized how much work it is just to get these conference booths set up and organized, and logistics around even getting swag there, and all that stuff could be quite a task, so to speak.
Yep.
So shout out to everybody working booths at any kind of trade show anytime. So
Absolutely. It's a hard job to be, you know, how do I want to phrase this? To be on all the time, right? And be prepared to
hmm
talk. And when you go through, you know, basically the same speech, or the same talk track, 50, 60, 80 times in a day, man, it can start wearing on you. But there was a lot of excitement at the booths. I will, we talked about this. It came up in Cloud Foundry Day Germany. The project at 520 of bringing in, uh, what's the UI? Stratos UI, right?
Stratus. Yep.
They're reviving the Stratos UI. That was a popular topic there at the CFF booth, the Cloud Foundry booth, and they got to show off some of the work that they're doing there. So also kudos to them for bringing that up. There was some interest in Stratos, and some of the old time Cloud Foundry people were excited to see that revived. Right? We did have a lot of people that came in and was like, man, I remember Cloud Foundry. That was the greatest product ever. Why are you getting off of
Yeah.
it? Well, we don't want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of those type of talks as well. But things are shifting, and I think there's going to be, where can we find a middle ground? There's
hmm
definitely use cases for Kubernetes. There's still use cases for Cloud Foundry. I still pretend it's the easiest way in the world for people to get their applications on there. But cloud, Kubernetes is got it's got real use cases as well. How can we make these things work together? And I think we're going to see that as a focus on the next year.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. We're like 42 minutes in. What do you are we close to wrapping for today? Is there any other topics you want to discuss from KubeCon?
No, nothing from KubeCon. Uh, we could. I would say, just a reminder, everybody, not going to be here next week. I hope everybody
hmm
enjoys their Thanksgiving time with families. Make sure that you guys take some time off. I think everybody in the industry, in the tech industry, needs a little downtime. So good to see holidays coming in. Definitely won't be there. We should. Yeah, Deshaun just brought up a good one, right? So Spring Boot 3.4.0 release party is starting soon. So absolutely, spring is huge. Want to make sure that you go and see that as well.
hmm
But
Is that
how about you?
Deshaun? Is that a launch today? Like we new bits dropping right now, type of thing? I can't even keep track of everything we're doing. So yeah, good to see that. Um, yeah, definitely. I would like to reiterate the everybody take some time next week, and for everyone who's not in the U.S., try to take some time. All your U.S. friends will be probably eating lots of turkey and pies and things, and uh, you know, slowly digesting food over a few days. Um, but yeah,
Well,
and
what
then I
about you,
think
Nick? I mean, everybody knows that as a grown man with no kids, I'm going to Disney World, here in 2 weeks. What about you? You got
mm,
plans for the holidays?
nothing too crazy, right? I would be oof, I'm jealous of the timing in which you're going to Disney World. I imagine the weather's going to be much better than when I was there, temperature wise. So
Yep.
definitely, I don't even know what the current temperature is in Florida here. It's snowing here currently, so
Nice.
it's probably not snowing in Florida. But yeah, I enjoyed Disney World, but whew, it was going. I think it was like in June or July. I don't know. It was hot.
Those are
Very
poor
hot.
life choices.
Yeah, yeah. So go enjoy that in probably very very nice climate. So
Well, and you talked about when some of the stuff that you did for Halloween. You got the house all decorated for Christmas. Does that start after Thanksgiving? You're doing it now,
that is happening here shortly.
right?
I think, yeah, definitely getting a lot of pressure from the wife to start bringing up all the decorations and transforming the house into a winter wonderland for the next 2 to 3 months. So
we're doing the same thing. It's the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now I gotta find a good time to get the when it's not snowing to try to get the Christmas lights out. So I guess for folks who may follow me on Twitter for a while, I used to post a lot of updates about my pool. So luckily I was able to start closing my pool down last night before the snow. So I picked very great timing. It was actually snowing when I was like shutting down all the pumps and everything and disconnecting everything that would have a critical freeze risk. So I still have a little bit more work to do there, but I got all that taken care of last night in the snow. So
it seems like you might want to maybe plan that for a month or two earlier next year. You kind of brought. You know what? Yeah. It fits, Nick, because you always, almost every week you scare me to death coming in last minute on the show. So, it kind of fits with your MO.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit delayed. I was planning to do that after I got back from Barcelona, but I was not in a physical state to be doing that for quite some time. So now that I could breathe again, I was out and about working last night. So.
Yeah, not everybody knows, but Nick was on the brink of death for like a week and a half there. So
I'm alive now. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I guess we just do the standard call out. We did quite a bit of a different show this today, being all Kubernetes focused. But make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We've got new shows coming out. Got some good ideas for shows coming up. Definitely, I think after the first of the year. We've got some new announcements that are going to be coming out, and you said you got some announcements coming out in December when I don't think I'm going to be here. But like and subscribe, make sure you get that so you're notified of when we're coming out with new things. And everything that we talked about, we'll get in the show notes here in the next day or two so that people can review those, get some links out for you to go look at the keynotes and some of the talks that came out.
Yeah, sounds great. Are we ready to do, and thanks to all the live viewers right now currently. So thanks for hanging with us for close to an hour.
And Deshaun, drop us the link for the launch party so that we can put that out. Make sure that everybody's seeing that on our LinkedIn and Twitter as well. Our audience is not as big as yours, but don't call me jealous. But we might be able to hit a couple people that you don't hit today.
Very cool. All right, are we ready for a CF buy?
I think we are.
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
CF buy, everybody. Happy holidays.